today's 7-game slate. It's not a lot of great tournaments out there, as we've seen. People focus on the football for the Thursdays, and a lot of people are sort of done with baseball for the year. Maybe that should be me, but we're still going. We're going up till the end, and probably through the playoffs a little bit as well. So I didn't play much yesterday. I played a little bit in the morning. Didn't quite get there. Just missed the cashing in the big one, and that's really mostly I played that in one other tournament really. But ready to get to it today. Sheets, how did you do? And then we'll jump into the slate.
Yeah, I didn't do so well in the main early slate. I played the 4-gamer, and I caught the bad Justin Steele game by playing the Pittsburgh side. Just kind of got lucky there, and in the 555 that had that whole game stacked. So that kind of worked out. Got like 12, 13, something like that. So that was good, and ready to get after it today.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's pull up your screen, and we'll go game by game and figure out what we want to do. Because the clear thing to me is, which is maybe not clear on the ownership, so maybe that's a good thing. The teams that I had before we get into it are going to be lower owned than I would have thought for a 7-gamer, at least as of right now. So we'll see. Toronto and New York, you got first.
Yeah.
All right.
So listen, Cole is 12-2. By the way, shout out to King from the Yankees. He put up like freaking 15 strikeouts or something like that against Toronto yesterday.
Crazy.
Yeah, just kind of nuts. I personally am not getting to Cole today at 12-2. I'm trying to save a little bit of money to get to some bats that I want to play. So I'm not going to be kind of going there, but certainly, high projection and certainly can do it. I have Berrios as kind of like a secondary kind of okay play. I don't know if I'm going to get there in a big buy-in, but certainly if I get to him in MME, I'm not going to complain. And I have a very, condensed group of teams I want to play hitting-wise, so I'm just not going to get to either of these two today.
Yeah, I actually like both these guys a lot, so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I have them. I have Cole as number one. I know he's expensive. We can decide what we want to do with that and what they're going to really do. Like, are they going to let him go as far as usual? Doesn't feel like they would, but he sort of doesn't. He's one guy who I never worry about pitch count with. But like, it just seems like maybe you're getting the 100, but not the upside of the 115. I don't know. Just because at the end of the year, why are they going to, destroy somebody's arm or risk anything with nothing to play for? So anyway, although I guess they can knock the Blue Jays further down. That would be something. All right, moving on to Atlanta and Washington. You're good. Look, Atlanta is going to look like a phenomenal play today, and they probably are. The problem is, the problem I thought was going to be the ownership. And I think that at their prices, maybe it's not going to be quite as high as I thought. It's also not great hitting weather. It's not terrible. This is a little wind blowing in from right field. It's Washington, which is a nice stadium. It's not as nice as Atlanta, but it's, they're both good hitting parks. And you get Atlanta in the top inning, so you get the extra round of potential swipes, as you would say. What kind of a lineup Atlanta will release, I don't know. They've been pretty solidly putting their best foot forward. This might be a time where they pull something back a little bit. They now have they're still only up. What do they have? 3.5 still on the Dodgers, or is that right? Or am I a day late on that? Sure. I'm just gonna double check real quick. I think that they are up 4.5 now on the Dodgers. So, yeah. So I'm 3.5 still. So, yeah, I think that matters enough to them. I think that Atlanta is a great stack. And Fried is a guy who will just be on, as we often say, he's a great pitcher. I'll use him when he's contrarian. He's not going to be contrarian enough today because there's just not that many different guys to choose from. So I probably don't play Fried, and I probably play Atlanta.
Yeah, I have Atlanta as one of the 4 stacks, not surprisingly, that I like today. And pitching wise, yeah, like you said, I mean, Fried is going to look like an okay secondary play to me. I'm probably not going to play him in my big buy-in, but sprinkling him around in multiple lineups, never killed anybody. So yeah, I'm gonna probably end up getting to Atlanta just because the way I'm building. And I'm not sure if they're going to be my big buy-in yet, but it's going to be one of 4 teams, I think. And yeah, that's it.
Yep. And if there's any, if there's any anti-Atlanta thing to play them, just they've been a little bit cold lately. I mean, I'm just trying to find reasons, because I do think that they end up, if people can find a way to get them in, they're gonna try. But maybe they're not going to be quite as popular as I thought. All right. Next up, you have what is it? The Chicago game? Is that
Baltimore, Cleveland for me?
Cleveland, excuse me. I mean, that's what I meant. Why don't you start off that one?
Yeah. So Baltimore is another team that I have interest in. Like all the guys that I would normally play from Baltimore, they look really, really good. Again, condensed hitting options for me today. I don't think that all 4 teams that I'm going to be targeting, they can't all be the huge chalk. So I'm going to kind of follow along to see who's the least chalky of the 4. Hitting wise, I mean pitching wise, I guess you can make a case for Rodriguez. I'm not getting to him as far as projections goes, but I'm just kind of like looking at it. It just seems like someone I kind of want to play. And then on the other side, Cleveland, I mean, same story as always. They look kind of cheap, but on this particular slate, I just really have no interest in getting to them. I'm just going completely differently. So no Gaddis for me. Definitely some Baltimore, and I don't know why G-Rod's not showing up, but you have to think he's somewhat playable.
Yeah, I get why. I mean, if we're going to think about Berrios, like, this is a significantly worse play considering that Cleveland doesn't strike out. What's interesting is the total on this game. And this is one I actually with SaberSim on. The SaberSim has this game at 11.
Oh my God.
Vegas has it 8.5. Let me just double check that I'm right about that. Yeah, well, they've got it at 10.6. And this is one that I will bet the over on, just to give away one of the free bets later. But as far as it being early projections have it as the most chalky side, Baltimore the most chalky, Cleveland pretty chalky even on the other side, or fairly chalky. My intention would probably be just to fade it. There's 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from right center. It's 72 degrees. It's a decent hitter's park and everything. I'm just personally, I don't need to play the chalk. You also have Baltimore on a travel day, so maybe you give them a little notch down for that. So I'm probably going to be lower on this game for hitting. And I do think Rodriguez makes for an interesting tournament pivot from other guys, because I think he's going to be sub 10% today. All right, you want to start off with? Yeah.
I like 3 things in this game actually. So first of all, I do have the Phillies as one of the 4 stacks that I like, alongside without Atlanta and Baltimore. And on the other side of that, I like Peterson at 5,500 in lineups to get to some of the Atlantas and other high priced hitters. He's just very, very cheap, and I don't need too much from him to make me kind of happy. So I like both sides of that matchup, Peters and Philly, depending on what the rest of your lineups look like. And I like Suarez actually, as I actually have him in currently one of the top 3 overall values for some reason. So I like Suarez, and then I like both sides of the Philly Mets, hitting versus pitching.
Yeah, I think that, yeah. So the only issue I have with this game is that it's in the games in the 60s with 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. It's not a great hitting environment, but I think that you want some exposure for multi-entry and Peterson. I think you want some exposure to Suarez. And I actually think that, the Philly side is the obvious side, but I think that the Mets are not a terrible play here. They've been better against lefties, maybe not a full stack, but they've got some cheap pieces. You got a guy in Suarez who can occasionally get, bit by the home run bug. Maybe use it as a mini stack with Alonso, who's still very reasonably priced. Lindor, they're kind of expensive if you do it that way, but then you've got Vientos and Beatty down at the bottom you can use to sort of save out the value. So maybe a little 3-man of those guys is not a bad idea. So I'm open to the Mets as a little mini stack, and like you, I'm interested in both pitchers. The price on Peterson is just too low, but at the same time, this is to me feels like a really bad matchup for him. Now he's faced them, I believe, I'm looking at it right now. I believe he's faced them 3 or 4 times in the past with a phenomenal strikeout rate, a pretty high walk rate, and a lot of power that he's given up. So pretty much the what you get with David Peterson. You know what I mean? Anyway, but he has struck out, 26 out of 25 strikeouts in 71 plate appearances is no joke. And that's certainly, he could have a bad game here and put up 12 to 15 points. And if you want to play the Atlantas or something like that, I think that's not a bad idea. So I'm definitely on board with a little bit of the Peterson, even though it always makes me nervous. But 5,500 is 5,500. He's not a 5,500 pitcher. He's got way more upside than that. So anyway, all right, let's go to Pittsburgh and Chicago. And are you going to ask me, or should I say it first?
What's the wind like in Chicago
today? There it is. The wind is blowing in at 10 degrees from right field. 10 miles an hour. It's 70 degrees there. Well, the wind does have the potential to change. Otherwise, like the Cubs lefties right now are a little bit out for me just because of that wind. But this is a game that's been going off, and I think that it could potentially again. So it's just a matter of if the wind changes at all. I don't want to have guys hitting into 10-mile-an-hour winds in Wrigley. And because of it, I actually think I'm going to consider Hendricks on my list. Not a fun play. But if I was playing guys from this game, I guess it would just be the right-handers. That's the way I would do it right now. I say that all that, but there's not all as much power as there used to be. Sheets, are you there? Looks like Sheets may have frozen. So I don't know what to do. We used to have the other videos we could pause for this kind of thing, but now it's not working. Let me see. One second. Let's see. So I'm just gonna make sure that he's still okay. Oh, there he goes. Hopefully he'll jump right back on in a minute. All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep going out. I'll start sharing my screen now. So it's a little sorry for the little hiccup, guys. Every now and then we have one of those. Hey, even the biggest things in the world. I was listening to a podcast that has millions of subscribers, and they kept having the technical issues the other day. So it makes me feel a little bit less bad about it. But as you can see, going through the Pittsburgh Chicago game, like you have a little bit of ownership on Hendricks, almost none on Oviedo, and it's just not ideal hitting weather but it's not going to have much ownership either. So I actually could see revisiting this game at 6 when we go live, because I do think that there's definitely this is definitely a game I'd want to have pieces of if we didn't have a little wind blowing in it. It's not like a crazy amount, but 10 miles an hour in Wrigley can be kind of substantial. All right, let's talk about Detroit and Oakland. I've got Skubal is going to be the best projected player on the slate. To be honest, I don't really have an issue with Skubal. I don't really have an issue with Medina either. If I was building just 2 lineups today, maybe I would do something. I think I would consider something like a Peterson and Medina lineup to try and just get all the bats in. And I probably would consider like a Skubal Cole lineup and try to get a cheaper stack. Maybe something like I don't know, maybe the Mets or something like that, or even one of these teams. I actually think Detroit is completely viable today. I don't know how their lineup shakes out, but they're so cheap. They're going to allow you to do other stuff. They're going to have a little bit of ownership, as you see. Goldie's got McKinstry and Vierling both over 10%, and then other guys with some ownership, but it's a small slate. And I think that getting to some Detroit is not a bad idea here. And I think that using McKinstry, basically my thoughts on this game are you can use all pieces of it, and I'm not going to have an issue with it. Mostly the Detroit bats and both pitchers are my interest level. But I do think Detroit is one of the value pieces that you could use to get there. So I don't know how Sheets expects me to respond sometimes, but I'm trying to go through there, but I can't respond to like a bunch of messages at once while I'm trying to do it solo here. But all right. So all right. Anyway, we'll move on. So to the Dodgers and Giants, Harrison and Sheehan. To be honest, I kind of like both stacks in this game. The problem is Harrison he's shown enough upside. The Dodgers have struggled with lefties. The run total isn't great. The Dodgers, still have a little to play for. They could catch Atlanta and have the best record in the National League. But overall, I think this game gets ignored. I think you can ignore some of the ownership because my guess is both of these teams at lock don't have there's my prediction. At least one of them, potentially both of these teams at lock don't have their lineups out. And one of these days, the Dodgers are going to roll out a really lousy, just sit all the big guys or most of them. And San Francisco's still playing for everything. I actually think San Francisco might be a really good way to get contrarian today. So I have them actually pretty high. But in terms of the stacks that I most want to play, just in summing up this little slate, I want to play the Tigers. I want to play Atlanta. I want to play Philadelphia and the Dodgers as my three favorites. I think that San Francisco, Detroit, and the Mets are my next three. And I will be using pieces of those to round out the expensive stacks because there's a lot more value over there. And then pitching wise, like I said, I'm thinking of like a Skubal Cole lineup and like a Medina Peterson lineup if I had to play just two lineups, for example. Those are my four favorite guys, everything considered. And then in the mid-range, I like the Barrios, Suarez, or Hendricks if I had to pick. But a lot more we'll figure out later tonight when we go live at 6 Eastern. And that'll be it. So good luck to everybody today. I hope you guys crush it. And hopefully we can dominate this little slate. Just a little piece of news. We are going to be live at 7:15 Eastern, Rhodey and I. Hopefully Sheets will be
hear me?
Sheets is back. Yeah.
You
real quick, I went through the last couple of games. Do you want to say your thoughts on the Detroit, Oakland, and then the Dodgers and Tigers? Oh, there he goes. All right. Well, so much for that. Anyway, good luck to everybody today. Sorry for the little sloppy video. Please like and everything so we can keep doing these for free. And let us know if you have any questions. We'll be in premium Discord and all the Discords all day.